Keeping It Real with Jillian Michaels.
Mr. O'Reilly.
Ms. Michaels, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
You know, I'm the same, which is tragic for everyone.
Well, I might have been lying to you. I may not be as good as I professed. I'll be honest. I'm a little.
Yeah, what's going on?
A little shook up, sir. I've been nailed twice by this tariff war with China and two of my different businesses. I've watched my kids 529 be cut by 35%. And I'm here for it. I think I understand why we're doing this, but it's a hell of a roller coaster ride. And I was hoping you might shed some light on why is Trump doing this? Maybe we should start there. Why are we in these tariff wars?
Okay, so from the very beginning of Donald Trump's political career, and he always had in the back of his mind that he was going to run for president way back, I would say more than a decade before 16, so 2006. He felt that the politicians and the presidents were not representing the country well economically. And the big thing that he pointed to was that there was more money going out of the United States to countries than coming in because of tariffs. So in China's case, for example, it's about 5 times as much money going from the United States to China as China to the USA. Trump felt that was crooked, that was destructive to the working people, and he always had in his mind that he was going to stop that. So in his first term, he didn't quite stop it, but he did make some adjustments that were favorable to the economy, and then COVID hit. And that changed all economic agendas. So when he got reelected, he goes, now I'm going to come in hard, and I'm going to tell the countries around the world that it's not business as usual, that you're going to have to be fair or we're going to punish you. And that's what's happened. That's the history of it.
Okay. Why are we going after allies so aggressively? Like why are we going after Israel so aggressively? I've seen Ben Shapiro comment on that in particular, and he's like, what's the end game? Where's the end game here? And I have to wonder the same thing.
Well, I think the Israeli thing is already resolved. All Trump wanted was a lower tariff rate for certain things going into Israel from the United States, and I think they came to an agreement already. Okay. So that's not even on the table anymore. But our allies in Europe, I mean, say Jillian Michaels moves to Munich, Germany, and they'd love you there, Jillian, and you might consider it not in the winter, but a beautiful, beautiful town. And Jillian Michaels wants to open a workout center, okay? And she wants to buy American equipment because she's used to it, and it's good equipment, right?
Yeah.
So she orders gym equipment to stock up her new Munich facility. Well, there's a VAT tax, value added tax, in Germany. It's going to slap on 20% more than the equipment costs in LA. Therefore, when you buy it, you're going to pay a lot more. And if you wanted to resell it or open franchises, you'd have to charge your customers more money to cover the 20% VAT tax. So Trump says that's not fair to American products because the Germans, Jillian, will buy from Dusseldorf. She won't buy from LA anymore. You see what I'm talking about?
I do.
The fix is in almost every country to keep American goods out. And that's what Trump wants to dissolve.
How did we get here, though? Because this didn't happen overnight. This has been decades in the making. Like, who dropped the ball in such a significant way? How do American companies allow this to happen? It certainly doesn't behoove them, and they're the most powerful companies in the world, I would imagine, alongside some in China, of course.
Well, the American companies moved abroad, like Apple.
Okay.
Okay, so
Right.
they got around that by saying, hey, we'll build our stuff in Ireland or whatever country,
Right.
China, Southeast Asia, India, we'll go over there. It happened because after World War II, and I don't want to bore your audience with a lot of pinheady stuff, but I've had 19 #1 best-selling books based upon a history of the United States and the world. After World War II, the United States was the winner, the big winner. We were. And then we rebuilt Germany and Japan because we had to, and all of Europe along with Germany, to get markets to build up civilization from that terribly destructive war. That was called the Marshall Plan. So all this US money went in, and then every president from Truman to Biden said, whatever they want to do, they can do, that's okay. We're not going to ask for fair treatment in trade because we're doing fine by ourselves. We have so much money here in America. Our consumers live so well here that we don't really need to browbeat these other people into better deals. So no president took it on.
Okay. And obviously, seeing what's unfolding now, you understand why, because people are going after Trump and calling him insane and calling him deranged. And when I look at this and I listen to you, it's like, well, there were trade asymmetries. Okay, got it. We need to bring back manufacturing to the country. That makes sense. What about the national security element of drugs being made overseas and technologies being made overseas? Do you think that's a valid concern as well? And arguably one of the reasons Trump is, okay, so that is real. Then it's like we're vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely real. Trump just made a deal with a company in Taiwan to build a plant to make very sophisticated chips in the USA because Taiwan is not a secure place any longer. And the company is NVIDIA.
Yes.
And the guy went to Mar-a-Lago from Taipei, and Trump said, hey, you're going to build a plant here. And the guy goes, okay. And so we're making progress. But if you have medicine and you have chips and high tech built in countries that are unstable, that's a risk. But it's what the Trump administration did not anticipate and should have was the softness of the American psyche. So they rolled it out all at once. They dropped the bomb on Jillian Michaels' enterprises all at once. You didn't have to do that. You could have taken care of China. You could have taken care of Canada and Mexico first, then moved on over to the EU, then moved to China or any, place you wanted to go that you felt you had an advantage. Didn't have to do it all at once. The shock and awe doesn't work in worldwide financial markets. People don't understand tariffs anyway. If you go to the mall this afternoon and stop people and go, how about those tariffs? What kind of answer you think you're going to get? All right? They don't know.
Right.
And when you have invested your money, like I have, and I'm assuming you have,
yes,
hard-earned dollars, okay, into certain companies, and a company drops 50% in a day, you're not going to be happy.
Right.
And that should have been anticipated. The word holistic this is your people. They're all holistic, wind chimey. Well, there's a little bit of that's good, that you got to be holistic when you make some dramatic moves. You got to kind of signal they're coming and maybe not do everything at once. And I think that's where the Trump administration made its mistake here.
But surely they could have anticipated that markets would crash and people would freak out a little bit. And I do understand the necessity, as we've discussed, but is there some truth, do you think? And I can't tell if this is like conspiracy theory and fringe or absolutely a possibility that Trump may have wanted to shake out the market, push people into bonds, treasury bonds, lower the yield, and subsequently lower the interest rate because we have to refinance $7 trillion in debt. Is there some truth to that, or do you think that's all like tin hat kind of stuff?
That's all. No, that's just way too MIT-ish.
Got it. Okay.
That's not what these guys do. These guys are broad. Donald Trump is a broad thinker, not a micro thinker. That's why he overlooks some things, like I just said, about how the American consumer and investor is going to absorb all this punishment. Now, I just talked to the president just a few hours before I came on with you. And I've known him 35 years. He's never misled me. He's iced me a number of times because I don't play the game. I give honest analysis. But he's never misled me in 35 years that I've known him. And he says in the next few weeks, there are going to be some very, very good, strong achievements for the USA. That should put the bond and stock market back to where it was. Now, beyond that, who knows? I mean, because it's so unstable with Russia and China. These are villains, and they're terrible people, and they can do anything. And Americans, as I said, are very jumpy and soft. We're not disciplined people here. We're like in the moment, and if the moment's bad, then we're weeping. Right. Okay, we're not looking down the road.
Right.
And a lot of us don't understand macroeconomics. And here's the worst part about it. Most of the people you see reporting on television and writing in the newspapers have no blanking clue what's going on.
Yep.
And you know what? They don't care. They want to hurt Trump or help Trump. Most want to hurt him, but some want to help him. So they're not interested in really figuring out what's happening here. All they're going to do is attach themselves to the pro or con Trump to please their corporate masters and make money. Therefore, the American people have a fog, a shroud over them. They don't really know what's happening, which is why I'm pleased to be talking to you today, because I'm not in those categories.
Of course not. In fact, I crowdsourced all of these questions because everybody I know can't really figure out what the hell is happening. On one hand, you've got one billionaire over here, explaining like, well, this is good and trying to, the asymmetries in trade and this, that, the other, and we need this and we don't have security. We're bringing back manufacturing. You're like, okay. And then on the other hand, another billionaire over there is like, he's going to drive us into, it's Black Monday. It's going to be worse than 2008. And I want to understand, is that possible? Could this be a severe recession or worse? Are we playing around with those kind of stakes here?
Sure, it could be. That is capitalism.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to be a capitalist and you invest your money, you got to know there's risk. That's the difference of the systems. Socialism, that's the Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, AOC crew. That's easy. The government just tells you what you can do and tells you what you can have and can't have. You're never going to make it big. Okay, you go to Sweden and, they work 6 hours a day. I said to one Swedish guy when I was in Stockholm, hey, why are you closing at 3 p.m? He goes, because if I make any more money today, they take it all away from me. So why would I work anymore? That's socialism. Yeah. Okay, the government just regulates everything. Capitalism's a Wild West. So you invest in a company, you hope the company goes up, but it might go down. You might lose every penny you have. Now, right now, we have these fluctuations in the market that are bad. You don't want that. You want some commonality. You want some stability. But Trump, and I watch him very closely, and I know him. I mean, I can tell different things about his demeanor, about how he presents himself. He's confident he's going to win here. If he doesn't win, he's done. And he knows that.
Right.
Because the midterms, the Democrats will sweep right in, and Trump will have no power whatsoever.
Right.
And he'll go down as a failed president. And the most important thing for Donald Trump in his life now is to go down in history as a successful president.
I remember you
said a lot on the line.
That he was speaking to you about that. How do I become one of the greatest of all time in our first conversation? Yep. With regard to these strategies, do you think that is part of the reason he's moving at this breakneck pace? Because in 2 years, he anticipates having this blue wave and losing the ability to make change. So it's like foot on the gas pedal. Like, why do all of this all at once? It.
If you read his books and you know how he deals, he likes to create confusion among his adversaries. And the shock and awe works a lot on that. So he likes to go in and just throw the hand grenade in the room, boom, like this, and then everybody's stunned, and then he goes in and calms everything down and makes the deal he wants because they don't want a second hand grenade. That's that's how he deals. That's what his style. It's not a very patient, methodical style. that most politicians engage in, because that style doesn't lead to much. All right, it doesn't lead to, it just, they delay. Trump doesn't want to do that. He wants to go in and go bang, okay, and now I'm going to get what I want. And there is a good chance he will get what he wants, even from China.
Oh, okay, I want to get to China in a second. I wanted to go with, where is he getting what he wants? So it's my understanding the EU said they'd negotiate, Canada, Mexico, Japan, everybody ally-wise, unless I'm missing something. Broadly, but Panama was even willing to start negotiating, I think, until the Chinese got involved. But are we seeing what we want out of the allies? Is that working? What are you seeing working so far? Have we brought some manufacturing back? You mentioned NVIDIA. What's working? Let's look at that first.
Spring is here, and who's got the itch to travel? I mean, summer is just around the corner. And for me personally, I go to Quince for all my luxury vacay needs, but I get them at a fraction of the price. I mean, we're talking about lounge sets and washable silks, all kinds of awesome stuff. I got a lightweight carry-on that makes traveling feel like a breeze. Hoisting that sucker up onto that top shelf of the plane, no problemo these days, even though I'm only 5'2". Thanks to Quince, it actually makes everything easier and more affordable because they cut out the middleman and they pass the savings on to us. And not only that, everything is ethical and sustainable. They work with top fabrics only, and that's just one of the reasons that I love this company. So for your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades that you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/Jillian for 365-day returns, plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/Jillian to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Jillian.
When we talk about success in the health and wellness space, people usually focus on the product. Maybe it's killer protein powder, a sleek activewear line, a smart home workout program. But what most people don't realize is that the real magic often happens behind the scenes. Take some of your favorite brands like Alaya Naturals, Skims, or mine, for example. Yeah, I mean, we've got the products and the hype, but we're also using something that makes the selling part smooth and seamless. That business, the behind-the-scenes business, is Shopify. And nobody does better than Shopify at selling. Home to the #1 checkout on the planet and the not-so-secret weapon, Shop Pay, which boosts conversions by up to 50%. That means fewer carts get abandoned and way more sales actually go through. So if you're serious about scaling your business, your commerce platform better be ready to meet your customers where they are online, in-store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Because businesses that sell more, they sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Alaya and Skims use. Sign up for your free $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Jillian. That's shopify.com/Jillian, all lowercase. One more time, shopify.com/Jillian to upgrade your selling today.
Okay. First of all, it's really too soon. It's not even 100 days. As Saturday Night Live says on a couple of days ago, it seems like a decade. And then a guy used a little swear word in front of that. Look, when I was in a meeting with Donald Trump and some of his advisors on January 2nd of this year, they were railing about Panama. And I looked at the president and I said, you see that paper in front of him? You write down everything you want from Panama right now. You give that paper to me. I'll go to Panama City and I'll get you everything you want in 48 hours. The room was stunned. He laughed, okay? But he knew what I was saying to him. He got everything that he wanted from Panama, 100% across the board, okay? So that gives you one small example.
We did. I thought that we were still negotiating Panama. We got what we wanted out of Panama?
We got everything there. Chinese companies are out. Tariffs to put our ships through are down. U.S. troops are there providing security for the canal now. 100% he got.
I didn't even know that.
Now, you didn't hear about it because
I thought it was a standstill.
The press won't. No, he got everything. And he got it in record time. And the press won't report it because it's a victory for Trump.
No,
that's what I'm telling you. It's a shroud.
That's incredible.
So, as far as the EU is concerned, Meloni's coming here on Thursday. She's the head of Italy. That deal's already done. I understand the Japanese deal's already done. Okay? That these have been negotiated by the Trump economists before they come here so they can announce the deal while they're here.
Wow.
But that could be wrong. Okay?
Okay.
So he'll rack up. He wouldn't tell me, Jillian, because he knows me. He wouldn't deceive me. If he says he's going to have a bunch of really good stuff to say shortly, that's going to happen. I don't know what it is. It wasn't the right time to push him on it. It was a private conversation.
I understand.
But I'm confident that will happen. He'll get a deal with Iran.
No way.
Get a no nuclear.
No way. No one's gotten a deal. Do you really believe that? You would know. Okay.
Iran has no choice.
But they
have no choice.
certainly thumbed their nose at us in a very considerable way throughout the entire Biden administration. I mean, I thought they basically told him we're not going to de-escalate and we're not going to give up our nukes. And you know,
because it was Biden.
I thought they told
the weakest
Trump
president since James Buchanan. I mean, Biden was such a disaster. Nobody paid attention to him. Nobody feared him. Nobody was going to do anything to help the USA while Biden was in there. That guy was such a disaster. I mean, people have no blanket idea. But Iran has no choice because the Israelis basically have said, look, if they continue with this nuke stuff, we're just going to bomb them out.
Okay.
And they have four ports on the Persian Gulf. That's all. You can take those ports out. The Israeli Air Force can take them out in half a day. And that means nothing in, nothing out, and the Persian people starve because they don't grow food. They have to import all the food.
Of course, right.
Okay?
Yes.
So Iran doesn't have any choice. They're up against Israel, which is bellicose, which understands that the mullahs over there want to kill them and want Israel wiped off the face of the earth. Now Trump backs Israel 100%. They got nowhere to go. Putin is preoccupied with his own problems. He can't really help them. Chinese don't want any part of it. So they're going to have to make a deal. And the deal will be the UN weapons inspectors go in. They'll stop their weapons program, and there'll be 4 times a year inspections. And will the Iranians cheat? Yeah, but they'll tread water until the next president. That's what they'll do. And that will happen.
I understand. They'll buy time and play ball until they misbehave again, depending on who's in office in 4 more years. But it buys us 4 years without worrying that they have a nuclear warhead on their hands, essentially. Speaking of Russia,
that's right.
I want to pivot for 1 second since you brought them up. I just read, obviously, Palm Sunday, Putin killed a bunch of families going to church. In broad daylight, this guy is murdering women, children, families on a religious holiday. This doesn't seem to be de-escalating. And I had high hopes that it would. What does Trump do here? Because he can't put more money with Ukraine. Nobody wants that. He can't escalate with regard to weaponry and warfare because that brings us to World War III. So is it like a tariff game again? What are his options?
Well, Trump has some options. You're talking about the drone attack in Ukraine on Palm Sunday. They wiped out about 60 people.
Yes.
Putin's on the cover of my upcoming book. Will be out September 9th, called Confronting Evil. He's there with the Ayatollah. He's there with Hitler. He's there with Mao Zedong, and there are 8 others correspondingly bad inside the book. Right. There are 12 of the worst individuals who've ever lived on this planet.
Wow.
Putin has no morals. He is a sociopath. Okay. But he knows that his time on this planet will shrink if that Russian economy collapses, and it might. So what Putin is trying to do is elongate this conflict in Ukraine so he doesn't look weak. That's number one. Okay?
Yes.
And number 2, Trump still believes that Putin is going to buy into some kind of ceasefire. That's what Trump believes. But Trump has a plan B. And the plan B is the banks. He'll put sanctions against any banks that do business with Moscow. What does that mean? The ruble, which is the Russian currency, is worthless outside of Russia. So if you go to Russia, Jillian, and you bring back $8,000 worth of rubles, you change the dollars for rubles, and you cross over into Poland on the border, no Polish person going to take a ruble.
Okay.
Nobody wants the currency.
Got it.
All right?
Yeah.
So what Trump does is go, if you Chase Manhattan, if you Citibank do any business with Russia at all, we're going to slap sanctions on you. And we're going to tell the American people, don't bank there and worldwide. Okay? So all the banks will go along and they'll dry up dollar flow into Moscow. Say, they won't be able to get dollars. Now, they'll go to China. Nobody wants a yuan. Who wants that? Nobody. Because the yuan is worth this much on Thursday and that much on Monday. Because the Chinese government tells the banks in Shanghai and Beijing, here's how much the yuan is worth. So it's worthless. It's worthless currency. They can pay their own people, and the Russian people take rubles, but you can't take it out of the country. You can strangle people like this with banking. And the West has not done that to Putin yet, but they have it in reserve.
Okay, I see. That makes me, to be honest, that makes me feel a little bit better, because you sort of lay awake and think it's escalating. It's not de-escalating. He's seemingly growing bolder, but it sounds as though you're saying it's because he's actually becoming weaker and there is a plan B, and he knows it as well, which is encouraging. You bring up China. They don't seem to be bending a knee. And I can just tell you personally, 2 different businesses of mine have already been pretty significantly impacted. And it's worrisome, and they don't seem like they're going to bend a knee. I can't even anticipate that's a possibility. And they're telling us, like, hey, be smart, stop this right now and be empathetic, which seems mind-boggling considering I believe that they had a 25% tariff on us and we had a 3% tariff on them. Even reciprocal tariffs would seemingly make sense. What are they going to do? What do you think the end game is? What does Trump actually want? Does he want us to get companies out of there for national security? Or does he just want a more favorable trade deal? Or do we not even know? And what is China going to do? They're not going to kowtow.
Well,
a lot. Sorry, a lot. This one's stressing me out, sir.
All right. Number one, I'm very curious about what businesses of yours have gotten hurt by the Chinese controversy.
We just signed a deal with a company that makes large equipment, so treadmills, exercise bikes, row machines, saunas, cold plunges. So we just inked it. Super excited for the partnership. Jillian's going to be working with this company.
Right.
Yay. And then they're like, we need to put a pin in this for at least 90 days. We've got to relocate all manufacturing over to Vietnam. And they're significantly concerned, obviously, about the cost of goods and passing that on to the consumer. And it's like a chaos now. Then another company, a supplement company, just had an entire shipment returned. And it has to do apparently with the plastic bottles that are made over in China to hold the supplements. And it's like, we don't even know why. I just heard this morning that a shipment got sent back for packaging. And it's like, okay, so we're not going to hit the numbers this month because we're going to have to not run ads and we're going to have to only give the product to subscribers because we lost all the packaging. And that's just 2 companies already. I don't even know why that happened, by the way. I just got that sort of like, hey, heads up, we're going to need to have a call about this afternoon. So, well,
you can assume that anything coming in from China is going to be held up because it's economic war. It's a war. So Xi, the president of China, goes to Malaysia, Vietnam, and Cambodia. He's there now as we speak. So the problem with that is that those people have no money in any of those countries. They can't buy any Chinese stuff. There's no Walmart in Ho Chi Minh City. Okay?
Yeah.
So he's doing it for show. He's going, oh, yeah, we're going to sell our stuff other places. The Trump people go ahead. See how that works out. They're already closing plants in China. What you have to understand about the Chinese people, 1.5 billion of them, is they don't have any money either because the communists don't allow you to have money.
Okay.
Everything is collective. The government controls everything. So you can't have a Roth IRA. Okay? Maybe you can have a little gold that your grandfather gave you snuck in the wall, but that's it.
Right.
You start to close down where people are making the yuan for making the shirts and the hats and the sneakers. You start to close that down and they're not making their money, you're going to have a hard time eating. Okay? So that place is very vulnerable. We can hold out over here. They can't over there. And they got nowhere to sell these trinkets because Australia ain't going to take it. EU's not going to take it because if they do take the Chinese stuff, who gets angry at them, Jillian?
Trump.
Who?
Trump does. And he's punitive, right?
Trump does.
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
You got it.
I see.
So even India, all right, the most populated country in the world, huge consumer base, they're not going to take Chinese stuff. They're making their own T-shirts and hats. They're not taking it. So China puffs up. They're very, very weak. So that's why I think there is going to be a summit and they'll come to a deal. And hopefully that'll calm down not only the trade tariff front, but everything else. And if that happens, part of that deal will be you don't help bad Vlad in Ukraine. That'll be part of that deal. You see the big macro picture going on? Trump is trying to reorder the world.
Right.
He's trying to punish our enemies economically, which we have the power to do. But in the meantime, Americans are getting hurt.
I see. Yep, I got it. How much, I get no pain, no gain. How much pain is too much pain? What is the tipping point here? Because right now, I feel great after talking to you. I feel confident. I'm not selling. I'm writing it out, so on and so forth. But you have warned that we could have done this at a slower pace, a bit more strategically, and that the worst could potentially happen. Is there a pain point for him, or what is that pain point? Where do you see this going totally south, in other words?
Well, he's already reached the pain point on the bond market, which was going south fast, and then he paused the tariffs for 90 days. That's why he paused them.
I see. Okay. I thought
because
he paused them because they
once
agreed to
the bond
negotiate.
market crashes and people lose confidence in investing in the United States, all right, then we go into a severe recession here.
Okay. I understand.
And we can't avoid it. So Trump saw that. It was presented to him by Bessemer, the Treasury Secretary, and said, look, you got to pause it. And he did. So we're not dealing with somebody who's irrational. We're not dealing with Dr. Strangelove here, despite what the MSNBCs of the world tell you. He's got the vision, but he wants maximum pressure. He believes that the markets will come back. All right, I'm not selling. I'm not pleased about my portfolio going down. I mean, I worked hard. You work hard.
Yes.
Everybody, honest people work hard. They don't want to lose money on paper. But if you don't sell, then you're likely, the odds are in your favor that you will get that money back and maybe more. However, as I said, this is capitalism. And if it goes over the cliff by some unexpected occurrence, then we're hosed. But that's the country we live in. We are a capitalist country.
I get it. It's the pros with the cons. But the alternative is living in a place like China, where you don't even have a retirement
Bernie
account.
Sanders is the alternative.
Yeah.
And Bernie's going to come in and say, we're running everything from Washington. We're going to tell you what you do, what you're on. We're going to have a wealth tax. That means we're going to Jillian Michaels' house.
Right.
And we're going to take all the stuff we want out of her house that we want. Okay? And she can't do anything about it. Now, that's what socialism, communism is. Bernie's a communist. He's not just a socialist. He's a hardcore commie. I've known him forever. He honeymooned in Moscow. Do you know anybody who honeymooned in Moscow, Jillian?
I do not. No.
No, there's no Club Med there.
No, I'm not.
So,
no.
Right. So the Bernie's honeymooning in Moscow. All right. And this is when it was the Soviet Union. All right. When they were trying to conquer the world, there's Bernie honeymooning there. Okay. I've been to Russia, I've been to China, I've been to Cuba, I've been all over 86 countries. I know how it works, okay? Americans are not going to tolerate socialism, but it's a lot easier, okay, to live in that system where you are told what to do every second.
Of course. Is there anything about this that I should have asked you that I didn't? Any parting advice, tips, thoughts, anything I missed?
No, I don't do that. I don't give anybody financial advice because that's not my job, and I'm one of the last. In fact, I'm celebrating my 50 years in journalism. I can't even believe it. There's two guys that have been around as long as me, Britt Hume and me. That's it. All the others are gone. And the reason I think that I've stayed so long is because there are millions of people all over the world who know that I will never mislead them. I will never, ever tell them an untruth. And I will not tell them anything that I can't back up. And that's comforting. But you asked very good questions. I'm sorry that your business is impacted. If I were you,
I'm going to write it out. I'm just, please.
If you were buying me dinner tonight, which of course you should, I would tell you to get your containers in the USA.
Yep, we're working
right
on
away.
We're working on shifting to Brazil.
I wouldn't do any more containers, packaging, any of that abroad because you can get it here. Might be a little bit more money, but you know, you get it here. Yeah. As far as the bigger picture is concerned, I do believe that it will tamp down because there is no upside for China, for Putin, for Trump to continue this chaos. There's no upside for any of those individuals. They're all ego-crazed people, all of them, all right? They look out for themselves. They all have agendas of what they want. And Putin's the richest man in the world. And when you read Confronting Evil, you'll find out how he got all the money. It's really ghastly. He can't spend it. Putin can't go anywhere. He's a war criminal. All right, now he'll get that lifted if he stops in Ukraine, but he can't spend his money. He can't even see his girlfriend who lives in Zurich. He can't go there. All right, so if they all would just calm it down and then be fair, then the world can get back to normal.
So do you have time for one more question? Just one.
Sure.
Putin. Why do you think that there has been some rhetoric in new media in particular that Putin isn't that bad of a guy? And I'm not going to name names, but it's like, oh, and I do believe, listen, I do believe that the United States government played a role and provoked the situation for sure. I think there were off-ramps along the way from what I can tell and what I've gleaned. But the guy is a monster, and you've put him up there now alongside Hitler. And if anybody's going to know this, it's going to be you, as you mentioned, 19 bestsellers, best-selling nonfiction author of all time. And to just let you know, people do trust you that much. You are the top-rated podcast I've ever had, and you cleared over 1 million views in 2 weeks. I mean, that's unbelievable. Why are people softening the blow on what a monster this guy is, do you think?
Number one, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Okay. So I never criticize anybody if they believe something that I feel is erroneous. I put forth more powerful arguments to diminish their point of view, but I don't attack them personally.
Of course.
There's a very small segment that likes to get attention. And when you go in as a contrarian on the internet, that's the whole game on the internet. It's so crowded there. It's like the Long Island Expressway meets I-5. It's so crowded that in order to get people to look at you, listen to you, consider you, you got to say something outrageous.
Okay.
And that's what this is all about in the media. There are nuts who think that Putin is reasonable, which he isn't. He's a sadistic. I wouldn't say he's crazy, but I would say that his value of human life is zero.
Okay.
And he had no conscience whatsoever. But if you go on the internet and you say, oh, it's Ukraine's fault this war started, or the United States had provoked Putin, which we did not.
Didn't we, though? We expanded NATO. We put it on the border. We nuked
but
the
we never,
negotiations
ever
in 22.
encouraged Ukraine to go into NATO. That was never on the board.
I thought Kamala was like, we want you to join and all of that. I thought there was...
No, there was any government official was not telling Ukraine that they were going to get entry into NATO, because all of the Eastern NATO countries, Poland and the Baltic countries, Finland now, they knew that you can't do that because Putin's going to then lash out. So NATO knew that wasn't going to happen. And then Barack Obama allowed Putin to go in and take Crimea with no sanctions at all, nothing. And that's what emboldened Vlad. So as soon as Biden came in, he went, oh, okay, now I got these guys back again. I can do pretty much what I want. What happened was Putin thought he was going to knife right through the Ukrainians, and they fought for their freedom. And Putin's army is terrible, and that's a huge embarrassment. And you're using mercenaries from North Korea? Are you kidding me? What's next, Sri Lanka? The Russian army can't beat the Ukrainians?
You know, when you put it in perspective like that, it gives me a completely different point of view, because at first I was like, oh my God, and now he's aligned with North Korea, which is terrible, and we've pushed them together, and we why are we doing that? But then when you show how pathetic that is, it's fascinating. I instantaneously got refocused on it completely in this moment. It's pathetic.
Yeah,
I see
Putin can't even recruit for his army. He's got to let the people out of prison. He's got to let the drug dealers and the drug addicts and the child molesters and everybody out of prison, put them in a uniform and throw them into Ukraine. I mean, it's insane. I mean, this war has devastated Putin, but you'd never know it.
No.
Because the press is incapable of this kind of analysis. They're incapable of it. They're blinded by Trump hatred so badly that it's just staggering, and it hurts every single American.
It surely does, because we are utterly misinformed and running around like chickens with our head cut off, not knowing which way to turn or how to make powerful choices because they're informed, which is why you are an absolute national treasure. Sir, when does the book come out? Where do we get more? Tell me about No Spin News.
All right. So first of all, Confronting the Presidents is still in play, and that's the best book you'll ever read on the presidents. And interestingly enough, on the No Spin News, my TV broadcast, and you can just go to BillO'Reilly.com, but our distribution is now worldwide. But you should watch it. You know, this revenge play by Trump. If you criticize Trump, he's not going to like you. And if you go over a certain line, he's going to try to hurt you. And it's a big thing in the press now. Trump is revenge, revenge, revenge. And there's truth to it, but it's not unusual. Okay? So Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, JFK, LBJ, Richard Nixon, all did the same thing. And we document it. And that's Confronting the Presidents. And that book is on a New York Times bestseller list for 6 solid months. So that's worth checking out. Then September 9th, we got Confronting Evil, about the 12 most heinous individuals who ever lived. No women, Jillian. I couldn't find a woman to stack up against these dastardly men. I looked, but I couldn't find anybody that came close to what these guys did to the planet. But that'll be out. You can pre-order it on BillO'Reilly.com or Amazon or anything like that. So we're cooking here with the most successful independent news agency in the world as far as revenue is concerned. I run my own shop. I never work for a corporation again. I'm like you, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I wish I had started a lot earlier, because I had a lot of time with those corporations, and I'll take years off your life, that's for sure.
Sure will. Thank you so much. You are a fount of knowledge, absolutely brilliant. I am exceedingly grateful, and I will circle back to Give me some time. I'll give you some time, but a couple more months for more great advice if you'll allow me.
All right, anytime, Jillian. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Right back at ya.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.